Good afternoon, guys. Looking back at the tape, was proud of the way our team competed in the first half, and that's kind of how we saw the game going with how we went into it schematically and kind of, trying to play good defense, run the football, and see if we can make some plays in the pass game, and thought we'd come out and play a better second half, and we didn't. Our play declined, and there were some catastrophic plays in there that I've got to get fixed. Starts with me and our coaching staff, and we're going to go right back to work and try to solve some of those issues that have kind of kept us from winning some games here and giving us a chance to win some games. But injury-wise, just wanted to touch on, Christian, Darrisaw, Donovan Jackson, and Metellus. Updated you guys as much as I could yesterday, and really outside of coming in for treatment and early evaluations, don't have an update at this time. But like I said, I will as we get a little bit more clarity about what their availability looks like for the week. Try to get that to you guys as we push on this week. And then did want to update J.J. McCarthy. Over the course of our travel home, reported some kind of symptoms and in regards to his head, and we wanted to get back here once we kind of heard that. He was evaluated last night, and after completing those tests, our training staff and doctors and medical team have decided that the right place for him is to put him into the protocol for now, and he'll go through that process this week, and didn't have any early updates other than that he's in the protocol now. He's been in meetings and here today in the building, and we'll update you guys as we go. Yeah, no, we obviously with the independent, a couple independents and the medical staff and everything, there was not one particular. We're looking into it as I know we all will. It had to be late, based upon kind of how the game went, but no, there wasn't one where I think even JJ can pinpoint as of right now.
Kevin, I know you'll have to go through the week kind of figuring out how things go for JJ, but do you go in assuming Max Brosmer is ready to start?
Yeah, I think it's probably too early to tell that, Ben. As far as, with the quarterbacks not really taking contact in practice in the different phases of the protocol, I think we got to just take it a day at a time and leave it to the medical professionals and the protocol that's in place for a reason. We're, by the book, every step of the way on that, and I'm a huge proponent of the protocol and the procedures in place for the betterment of the most important thing, which is player health and safety.
Until he comes out of the protocol, who would run the first 2 months?
Yeah, Max would take those reps, but like I said, Kevin, there's with how the practice week is going to go and Thanksgiving and things like that, there's a timeline there where I think first and foremost we'll make the decision through the eyes of the medical professionals and not only our staff but the independent folks, and it's a medical thing first and foremost. And then I do think then at that point, once we see where we're at in the week and what it's looked like preparation wise, then we can make a football decision. But until then, I look at it clearly as a medical decision.
Is your week much different schedule-wise because of the holiday?
We'll just have a little bit shorter day on Thursday, maybe a little longer day on Wednesday and Friday, to make sure we give time for the players to have Thanksgiving with their families in the afternoon.
You talked in the past about the importance of full weeks for him, just given the lack of reps.
Yeah.
How much does that, how unfortunate is that that's something you guys are going to have to monitor?
Yeah, it's definitely not ideal, and really, there's that phrase can be applied to several, stops on the journey so far early on for him, and it's unfortunate because all you want to do is go back to work. And I thought there was some progression, early on in the game. Called it a little bit more conservatively, but wanted to run the football in the game. But we were able to hit a few, hit a pass to Jets and, a couple things in the movement game, just kind of pairing the run and pass together. And we were able to stay really efficient on some of those third downs, where I thought there were some real moments of some of the progression footwork-wise we've talked about, and then, you get into too many 3rd and 10 plus third downs where we just didn't have enough plays, 44 total, every single one of our P and 10s in the first 3 drives of the second half. Quick game call on the first one, we take a sack, and the next 2 are runs for negative runs. So we didn't do anything in any way, shape, or form to help ourselves, even though, we were trying to stay true to what the game plan was at that point. The big message at halftime was defense is going to get a stop, and we're going to put a drive together, and we're going to get back to running the football and maybe get some play pass and some ways of trying to generate some explosives to pair with some of the quicker game, ball out kind of plays we were coming into the game with, and obviously the turnover there, essentially between the turnover and the 4th and 1 where we just missed a single block on the play. Otherwise we probably convert there, and thought we needed some touchdowns to beat that team, and it ended up being accurate in that assessment.
Easy if we still wait for the process to play out, but if Max did have to start on Sunday, what is your confidence level?
Ton of confidence in Max. All he's done since he's been here is show up every single day and respond and answer the bell, whether it's stepping in, for some reps when guys were dinged up previously this year with the first group, or, if you look at it from a standpoint of what his absorption of the offense was and throughout his first day here all the way through training camp, playing in some of those games, playing against the Titans first team unit, in that preseason game defensively, and moving the team and getting the ball out and seeing things at a a veteran level type of eye progression. I think, we all have a lot of confidence in Max. Ideally, you'd love to, have a bunch of runway for him to continue on his journey. But I know Max will prepare like crazy, like he does every week. He's been a snap away here since Carson went on IR, and I know he feels very much prepared if called upon, and he's going to go about the week as he's been doing, which is important for a guy that is one snap away as a young player. How many reps can we steal? Pre-practice, post-practice, he does all the little things to try to get himself ready. If he were to be called upon, and that may be indeed this week, we don't know yet, but we've got to prepare our team for sure.
With the Seahawks, I know it's early in the week from a rep standpoint.
Yeah.
High level, what it stood out to you, Sam's played.
Yeah, to me, Sam has continued on with a lot of the things he did last year for us. They're very explosive. He does a great job, getting the playmakers involved. I think Smith and Jigba is one of the best receivers in football, and they've got some good tight ends and some other between Cooper, and they make a trade for another skill player at the deadline, and you just feel some momentum of that offense, and they're able to move it as well as anybody in the league. With Sam running the show, they've had really what's gotten them at times has just been turnovers, but that's any team in football. But as explosive as they've been and the amount of points they've put up, they're absolutely going to be a challenge. And then you look at their defense. I think Mike's doing a phenomenal job with that defense. All the acquisitions that they've made, young veterans, they're flying around, and it is going to be a challenge for us. We have to play good football. We have to play, physical. We have to do a lot of the little things just a little bit more consistent. And, we're going to get another week to prepare and try to, find different avenues to schematically to help our players as much as we can, and give our guys a good plan to go play aggressive and physical road environment. We were able to get a win there last year, but we know how difficult of a place that can be to go in and play.
Kevin, as you look back through the sacks yesterday, how much did you see those being an issue with protection up front versus the quarterback holding the ball? Where did those kind of shake out in terms of where the responsibility came?
Yeah, I think there was a couple where, in some good-on-good matchups, we just got beat, where I don't think J.J. had much of a chance. And then as you look for, later on in the game where we became a little bit more one-dimensional, down a score, down 2 scores, down 17. Just some zoning coverage looks where I think it's a combination of, are we using the help up front when we try to give those guys the help to maximize the chances of having a clean pocket to get a couple hitches off, and then for JJ, just the efficiency of understanding that, even in a game like that, it's still about completions. It's still about putting the ball in play. It's still about, trying to find a way to continue to stack completions together, and then the ops will come But, I thought we had some chances, early on in the game. There was a 1st and 10 play where we end up kind of fumbling the exchange and getting tripped up a little bit where, that play had a chance to really express itself. And then even in the second half, Justin's on a double move, on one of the very few chances he didn't, have a double team on him, in their shell coverage stuff. And we take a loss on the interior and end up taking a sack there. So it was just kind of like, it would just teeter-totter back and forth, and all in all, it wasn't good enough in any way, shape, or form.
Kevin, with Sam, does he have some advantages, do you think, in being familiar with your defense and vice versa? Might you have some insights on him, knowing him as well as you do and working with him so much?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a little of that probably on both sides. He obviously has a good amount of reps logged against our defense over the course of training camp last year and the off-season program. And we know Sam really well, and what I would say about knowing him really well, we know how talented he is. We know he can make every throw, and if we're not airtight in our coverages, they'll be explosive. And when they've been able to make those explosive plays, that offense, pair that with the ability to almost marry the explosive pass with the run game in a lot of ways, a little bit reverse. But I think Clint does a really good job putting together a scheme that tests your edges and challenges you and how you're defending the run, and then they marry that to attack players' roles in the defense with their run fits, and then they can play action and do some different things with the screen game to put guys in conflict where it becomes, kind of pitch and catch to some really good players and a trigger man that can make all the throws. So I think there'll be some back and forth with that, but at the same time, there's much, much more to it than just that.
Your impression of the perception of the way the players in the locker room are handling the quarterback who's not having trouble with giving it?
Yeah, I think guys are, behind him. I think they support him. I think they understand that, you probably ask a lot of our guys, which I'm sure you do, and you get a lot of, how can they be better and they be at their best for the greater good of not only J.J., but our whole offense, defense, or special teams. That's just the type of building we have here, the type of players we have, the type of leadership we get from our captains. But at the same time, our guys, have an expectation to win, as do I. We've, won a lot of games around here, but, these stretches where, we've fallen on some difficult circumstances in many cases, playing good teams, but also doing a lot of things ourselves that I look at as my job to fix, and we've got to do that, and we've got to play good football and give ourselves a chance to win these football games by not doing the things that lose games, whether that's protecting the football. No matter what we're going to try to do, we're going to try to protect the football, and then we're going to continue to press onward to see if we can generate some turnovers, which were obviously a huge part of our team a year ago. And then in the kicking game phase, we've been better in the return phase with, I think Miles deserves a ton of credit for that. We're playing a lot of young guys on the special teams phase of our team, and we've had really, really bright, shining moments, and then we've had some critical plays that I know we've talked about that are incredibly impactful in one-score games at the time, tight games when those things happen, just can't happen.
With J.J. just emotionally, he's never really lost as much of
Yeah.
playing life. Where is he, in your mind, just from an emotional standpoint, handling what this has been?
Yeah, he's a competitive guy and wants to win, but I think he also understands the big picture for himself and how important, every moment is right now for not only in the present, but for time that's been lost, in some time on task side of things. And I think it's very important that we just continue the principles of him playing the position the right way, and the way that, we all see him included as the best way for him to progress forward and upward in his journey. We just got to see it as consistently as possible. And then when there's factors that are outside of his control, that's part of it as well. It's not always going to be seen like that, and we understand that. He understands that. But what am I doing, me being J.J., of making sure I did take the right footwork? I did, have my eyes in the right spots. I progressed, trust in the progressions to be able to timely get the ball out of my hands and just continue to press forward, pairing that with hopefully running the ball efficiently. And and hopefully popping a couple explosive runs in there to kind of make up for the fact that maybe we're not having the type of volume in our pass offense to generate the explosives that have kind of been a staple of our offense. But that's okay. That's how we play and how we schematically try to attack people is what we think is best for not only J.J. but for our offense and our team at the time. And then it's how do the other two phases play into that, because when you're going to play that style, it truly needs to be complementary football. I know a lot of people throw that out as a term, but I think we're experiencing right now, when even in one or two play, one-off circumstances, how hard it can be when you're trying to play that style to find a way to win a football game. And as the growth and progression continues, and we make a couple of those plays, we talked about the play in the first half, or maybe a play late in the game to possibly kind of break the seal of lack of plays in the passing game. Many times all you need is one or two, flip the field, get some momentum, see if you can maybe keep staying in attack mode, and we just haven't quite gotten to that. I know yesterday we never really felt like, outside of sustaining a little bit on a few drives in the run game, it never really felt like we got the foot to the pedal like you want to.
Just to be super clear, was J.J. diagnosed with a concussion?
He is in the protocol, and that results from him, kind of reporting those things over the course of our travel home, and then getting back here and getting him through the testing and evaluations. I believe that would be the case, at least eliciting some symptoms that he reported, and then was confirmed when we were able to get the full evaluation process. The degree or the level of which I don't want to get into the symptoms levels and all that stuff. That's really not my job, more so than just to defer to the medical folks. And now we'll go through the steps and phases of it. I'm not ready to make any sort of designation for the game or anything like that. It's we'll let the process play out. But at the same time, I do think it's important for everybody to know, like, there is total transparency. I'm going to totally defer to the medical staff and the professionals on that one, as well as J.J.
Kevin, do you think you'd look at adding a quarterback this week for depth, just for no other reason to get through practice?
Yeah, I think we've got John on the practice squad with some elevations available. We'll take a look at that. I know depending on where we're at some other spots, hopefully getting a guy like J.J. back, as he works through the week, we'll see how he does. But we'll take a look at our practice squad, see where the depth is at other spots. There's really not, we're going to want to get John as many reps as possible running the look team. That maybe Max would have been taking a big chunk of those if Max is indeed taking the reps with the first team offense. So definitely something that we'll discuss, and I know Kwesi and his group are probably working through some of that right now.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.